Now, getting back to the Chicago Street Course real quick before we sign off, the big question is, will NASCAR be back? Now, this was supposed to be a 3-year deal with the Chicago Street Course, but since then, that deal has been signed. There's a new mayor in town, and he has not sounded like he's been all on fire for getting NASCAR back. He's been non-committal, really, and whether So before we get started on this week's episode of 3 Wide, let me tell you about our presenting sponsor, Hunt to Harvest. If you're looking to update or upgrade your hunting apparel, then hunttoharvest.com is where you need to go, where you can check out their awesome selection of shirt designs, which includes turkey hunting as well as multiple types of fishing. They also have a special sale going on right now with their long sleeve shirts, so if you're looking to get a head start on your winter collection, hunttoharvest.com has the deals for you. And they still have that mystery box special going on where for $33, you can get 3 shirts chosen at random sent to you. And for $11 a shirt, with this high quality of product, you're not going to find a better deal anywhere else. So head over to hunttoharvest.com. When you go to checkout, be sure to enter that promo code RADNEY18923. That's RADNEY 18923 for even more savings at checkout. And this can all be done at hunttoharvest.com. So NASCAR's debut at the Chicago Street Course got off to a bit of a rough start as far as the racing goes on Saturday with the Xfinity Series. Everything had been going real good with the practice and the qualifying. It was really cool to watch those. You could tell it was a big deal with the fact that they were televising Xfinity practice. So that was really fun to watch. But when race time came around on Saturday for the Xfinity Series, bad weather started moving into the area. They were only able to complete about 25 laps. Just a few laps away from halfway. And that's where everything seemed to be falling apart because you had a lot of people, media members, and those in the area saying, hey, we're going to be good to move forward with this race. It's going to get back going here soon. But apparently, the park has a rule, or the city has a rule within the park that any bad weather, basically, you're done for the day. It sounds like there was a lot of miscommunication between NASCAR, the fans, and the security for the park. I don't know whose shoulders that falls on. I would think NASCAR would be up to date on what exactly the policy would be if there's bad weather or lightning in the area. But either way, a ton of miscommunication, ton of confusion for fans, and both at the track and at home. Apparently, is how some of the security handled it with some of the NASCAR officials and spotters, team members, such like that, was not handled very appropriately. But looking at the race itself, Cole Custer, out of the 25 laps run, he led all 25. There was not a single pass for the lead. And just getting the little sampling that we got on Saturday, I was really concerned going into Sunday's race, just because normally the Xfinity Series puts on the better race and the better show. But just watching what little bit you could, I really wasn't all that impressed with the Xfinity Series on this track. I'm sure these guys were just simply trying to figure everything out, understand what was going on with the track. But Cole Custer, he gets the win. John Hunter Nemechek, he finishes in second. And NASCAR decided to, move this race to Sunday morning to attempt it then, but then the rain really came on top of the track, pretty much sent the track underwater. And NASCAR said, we're just going to go ahead and call it a race, even though we're not halfway yet. There's just no way they could get that race in. What was interesting was they did have the option to run the race on Monday, but they elected not to. And I'm sure with it being a street course and with how testy the situation is with the Chicago and the new mayor not really committing to another race next year on the street course, they probably wanted to create as little drama and problems for the city as they could. So NASCAR goes ahead, calls the race, rewards Cole Custer with the win. And it's a shame because it really messed up the opportunity for drivers like Parker Kligerman, who came away with ninth. He is about 26 points right now behind Riley Herbst at the cut line to get into the playoffs on points. He finished ninth. He got credited for ninth place stage points in both stages. But it's one of those races, what could have been, especially for Parker and how good he is on road courses, that, there was a lot of points left out there on the board for them. But on the flip side of that, look at Brett Moffitt, who came away with a fourth place finish and came away with some good stage points and started, chipping away a little bit at that gap between him and the cutoff line. You had drivers like Miguel Paludo. He was credited with 13th, Kyle Weatherman 14th. So even though they didn't get to run the full race, they still got a solid finishing position. And even Cole Custer, I'm sure, while he's credited with the win, he gets the trophy, he gets the points. I can't help but think that he probably does have a little sour taste in his mouth, like it really didn't feel like a win because he didn't cross the start finish line under the checkered flag. So, but I'm sure he's not going to turn the trophy and the points back in. He'll take it. But if he had his choice, I mean, I'm sure he would rather go out there head to head and come away with the race win. But then moving on to Sunday's Cup race, again, was a little really nervous going into this race with how the Xfinity Series looked in their limited time on the track. But the Cup Series guys, man, they went out there and they put on a show when they were finally able to get going. Shane Van Gisbergen, he gets his first career win in his first career start. Justin Haley finishes in second. This was a day that was all over the place. Shane, he becomes the first driver to win in his first start since 1963 at Daytona. Huge deal for this guy. He is a superstar over in the Supercar Championship Series over in Australia. He's from New Zealand and driving this Trackhouse Racing number 91 Project 91 car. I mean, props and hats off to Justin Marks for what he has accomplished so far in his short time as a car owner in the series. This was his goal with this car was to get drivers from across the world in all different types of motorsports to get over here in the Cup Series and give it a try and bring some exposure to the sport as well as to the drivers and their racing series that they're coming from. And he definitely hit the nail on the head with Shane coming in this car. Even there at the end, Justin Haley, he was closing in on an upset win that would completely throw the playoff picture into chaos. I still found myself pulling for Shane just because of the story it would be, and seemed like he was, genuinely excited to get this NASCAR win. He's got 80 wins, 3 championships over there in that Supercar series. He's races in, and he celebrated like it was one of those wins over there. So he made it seem like a big deal. The fans were packed out at this place. They were very excited. The viewership is up through the roof on this race and it was an excellent ratings graph for NBC and the sport in general. You had, plenty of cautions with the wet track, drivers kind of out of control, over driving it into the corners. Only one instance of the track getting blocked up when William Byron went into the wall, and then Kevin Harvick got collected, and then it was just chaos from there. The controversial moment really from this race was when NASCAR decided to take this race and go from 100 laps to 75. And what was controversial about it was when they decided to do it. You had drivers who were at the back for most of the day, whether it been because they made contact with the wall, they spun out, went into the tire barrier, or what have you. They were able to completely flip their position because under the caution where they decided to make this decision, some of these guys already came in and pit. Drivers like Kevin Harvick, drivers like Justin Haley, Chase Elliott, that were Austin Cindric, that were able to completely flip their track position. Their crew chiefs made the smart call to come on in, get service on the car, and go back out. And that's when NASCAR decided to go to 75 laps. And that really screwed over Christopher Bell, who had been the top driver, the top car all day long, leading third to 7 laps. It completely put them in the back of the field along with the other guys who were towards the front. Drivers like AJ Allmendinger, even Shane Van Gisbergen, he had been up front most of the day. That stuck him back. And just really unfortunate that how this decision came about. If you're NASCAR, you have all this equipment at your expense. Darkness is coming on top of you. I would think you'd say, "Hey, this caution. We're going to talk about some things. Hold these guys out for a minute. We're going to keep pit road closed. Okay, now we're going to go to 75 laps. Pit road's open. Everybody come in." NASCAR didn't. The crew chiefs that had their drivers in the back of the field, they made really the call that saved most of their days by coming on in and getting out. Justin Haley, like I said, he came close to getting that win. that would have put him in the playoffs, would have been a huge win. And Chase Elliott, who finished third, Chase was just terrible all weekend long. I mean, in practice and qualifying, even in the race, he hit the wall in just about every single time he hit the track. He's able to finish in third, so a good point stay for him. And what probably would have been a mid-20s finish turns into a third place finish. Austin Cindric, he started way back in 31st. He really wasn't much of a factor all day long. This allowed him to get up there towards the front. And what was real fun to watch with this type of racing, Shane Van Gisbergen, Michael McDowell, Kyle Larson, guys who had been up there for a good part of the day, we got to see them work their way through the field, and nobody did it better than Shane. It was really fun to watch him making moves on the track. And I said in my YouTube video, this was the perfect storm for an upset like this to happen. This is a brand new track these guys haven't been on. You got the wet conditions, which throws them off even more. And as I said, Shane is a superstar over in his racing series where this is their kind of racing. He took advantage of it. He kept it clean. He ran a smart race and made an excellent pass for the lead. He didn't drive in over his head or anything like that. He kept his cool and comes away with a huge win, not only for himself, for his team, and for the sport in general. And you had guys like Michael McDowell. He finished up in seventh place position. This was a race where he said this was going to be their best chance to get a win to lock themselves in the playoffs. While he didn't get the win, he did get some solid stage points and excellent top 10 finish, able to work his way back up there. And he's sitting there 10 points below the cut line right now. He has really positioned himself really well, especially with the schedule we have coming up with tracks like Atlanta this weekend, Daytona at the end of the regular season. And we still have some road courses coming up like Watkins Glen, like the Indianapolis road course, places where he could get up there and really make some noise and make a push to get a playoff spot. And sticking with the point situation, not a lot has changed too much. Bubba Wallace, he is still up there on points. Right now in 15th place. He is 15 points ahead of the cut line. You've had some flip-flopping going on with that 16th place. It's kind of gone between Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, now Ty Gibbs, who is up 6 points on the cut line. Bowman, who's had a rough go of it here over the past few weeks, and Sunday was no exception, where he had some trouble with his car after hitting the wall. He comes out 26 points below the cut line. Daniel Suarez, he is 6 points below the cut line, so still within striking distance. As long as we don't get any new, streak of new winners, is going to be an interesting battle between Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez, because they're really right there in how they run week in and week out. Michael McDowell, he's starting to pick up some momentum. Can he keep this going into the end of the regular season? And AJ Allmendinger, he's 24 points below the cut line, just ahead of Alex Bowman. We know how he is on road courses. While he hasn't been in contention for wins on them necessarily this year, he is starting to show a little bit more competitiveness as we get ready for this last stretch of the season. And as you look below this cut line, a lot of things can send this thing haywire. You still got Chase Elliott back there in 24th place in points, Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones. You got some good drivers back there below the cut line who say, Chase Elliott, we're going to Atlanta this weekend where he's the defending winner. He goes out and wins that race. It is going to cause a stir in the playoff standings. Corey LaJoie, we saw how good he was last year at Atlanta. He's might have fallen off a little bit on how he has run here over the past few weeks, but still an impressive season for him in that Spire Motorsports car. This is the race coming up this weekend where he probably has circled on his calendar that he can get the job done and go to victory lane. It's starting to get more and more tense. So starting this weekend at Atlanta, I think we're going to see the intensity, the aggressiveness really start ratcheting up, especially when we get to tracks like road courses and the super speedways. Drivers really pushing the issue because they know this is the best chance for an upset to kind of happen where they can get up there and really stir the pot on the playoff standings. So going back to the Chicago Street Course real quick before we sign off, the future of this race is kind of up in the air. Since NASCAR signed this deal, which was a 3-year deal, a new mayor has been elected, and he's been kind of undecided on what's going to happen. He hasn't really committed to NASCAR continuing to show up for a street course race. Which after this weekend, with the feedback it's gotten, the ratings, I don't see why you wouldn't want this back on your streets and to give even more of a positive look to your city. But if this doesn't get pushed through, if say it's a one and done with the Chicago street course, could this be an option NASCAR now has where, okay, we'll take it to, multiple major cities and try this out and try to repeat the success of Chicago? And that might be the way to go either way, because even if, say, they stick to this 3-race deal, the build up for it, probably the fan attendance, the excitement level for it, it's going to go down year by year. A lot of these fans that showed up at this race were first time viewers of the sport or their first time attending a NASCAR event. Was this enough to get them to latch on and come year in and year out? Time will tell if we even go back to this place. If not, I think it would be something worth looking at, maybe moving this around to some other major cities and just seeing what happens. Now, this upcoming weekend, we have Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is another upset level race, in my opinion, when it comes to the playoffs, both Xfinity and Cup Series. On the Xfinity side, I know Austin Hill, who is going to be the favorite. He has won so many super speedway style races over his short Xfinity career, including earlier this season in the spring, which I got to witness in person with some friends. And it was quite something in person to see him get his way up to the lead and hold it and see the moves that he's making in person. It just shows truly how dominant Austin Hill is at these things. But could the focus be moved to the other RCR car? Can Sheldon Creed break through and get that first career win with some help from Austin Hill? We'll just have to wait and see. I could understand if that move's made, maybe not necessarily a team order, but maybe Austin's like, hey, let's get our teammate locked in. Who knows? I don't know what the relationship is between those two guys, but the Cup Series is where it's going to be really interesting. And I've already spoken on this some. Look out for guys like Corey LaJoie, Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland. As far as upset worthy picks, I think those are the 3 guys you're going to keep your eye on. Also, a guy like Justin Haley, we know he's good at super speedways. Those are going to be some of the guys under that cut line to watch, but also guys right there on the fringe of it that like Bubba Wallace. He's very good at these style of tracks. Can he get the race win? Chase Elliott, can he repeat his win from last year and lock himself back into the playoffs? We'll have to wait and see. And there's plenty of guys, like I mentioned, below that cut line that realistically you could see winning this style of race. So there's going to be a lot going on Sunday, and it's only going to build up from here week in and week out. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I like that they've got this race now on Sunday night evening, with it being July. It is really hot down here in the South. This past week was brutal. As so far, this summer's probably been the worst week so far. So to move it and when the sun goes down, I feel like that's going to give a lot of relief to fans and drivers alike as this race goes on. So, and it's going to be fun to see this at nighttime on Atlanta Motor Speedway. So plenty to be excited about to watch come Saturday and Sunday. And that'll wrap up this episode of 3 Wide. As always, thank y'all for joining me and listening along. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this podcast from. You can also click on the link in the description below. That will take you to our new video just put out today on YouTube, where we discuss more about Shane Van Gisbergen's first career win, as well as what was the hottest topic it seemed like this past week, Brett Griffin's comments about Chicago and the reaction to those. And you can hit subscribe to our channel over there on YouTube so you know when our new videos drop week in and week out, as well as our weekly fantasy picks. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week, and we will meet back same time next week and go over all the action from Atlanta Motor Speedway.